are the best Portland Trailblazers in franchise history? Some people do have agreements with some of the rankings, others don't. Now, I'm going to tell you who I feel are the best Blazer players in franchise history. And I'm going to do something a little bit different in this case. I am going to give you who I feel is the best Blazer player at each position. At point guard, at shooting guard, at small forward, at power forward, and at center. Now, I'm also going to give you some honorable mentions before I list who I feel are the best Blazers in franchise history. But before I do that, I'm going to show you who are my favorite Trailblazers at each position. And I'm going to let you know if any of my favorite Blazers at each position made the all-time list. At point guard, my favorite player was Dave Twardzik. Now, he was part of the 1977 championship team. He was known as the pinball because he knew how to generate contact off his dribble plays. And I pretended to be him during recess. Every time we'd play basketball in the playground, I was always Dave Twardzik. Did he make the list of the all-time greats? Wait and see. Now, at shooting guard, I am going with Billy Ray Bates. No, not this Billy Ray. Not even close. No, Billy Ray Bates was a crowd favorite in the early 80s. He only played for 3 seasons with the Portland Trailblazers, but in the playoffs, that dude was dynamic. In 1981, he had a 28.3 scoring average in the playoffs, which at that point was a franchise record. Now, that was broken by Damian Lillard a couple of seasons ago, but 28.3 in the playoffs, the second best ever. Unfortunately, he had some drug problems and he got cut. But that dude was just dynamic. He knew how to play. Did he make the list of the all-time greats? Wait and see. Now, my favorite small forward player is Jerome Kersey. Now, this guy was electrifying as well. He came out of Longwood College in the 1984 draft in the second round. At first, he played behind small forward Kiki Vandeweghe, and then 2 years later, he was a starter. Now, he was part of the team that went to the NBA Finals back in 90 and 92. In fact, in 1987, he was in the Slam Dunk Finals against Michael Jordan, and he put on a good show in front of a nationwide audience. In fact, a lot of people felt he should have won over Michael Jordan. I definitely felt that he was robbed, and a lot of Blazer fans felt the same way as well. But he did put on a dynamic show in the slam dunk contest, even though he was robbed. But man, that dude was a hustler. He played hard in every game, and he played for the Trailblazers for 12 seasons. Now, I actually had the opportunity to meet Jerome at a Blazer game when he was working as a team ambassador. Unfortunately, I didn't have any pics because I didn't have my camera on me at the time. We didn't have cell phone cameras back in those days. But it was so good meeting my favorite player at small forward. Well, let's just say this. He's my all-time favorite player. There's just no getting around to that. And so because of that, he is definitely my favorite player at small forward. Did he make the list of the all-time greats? Wait and see. Now, my all-time favorite power forward is none other than Brian Grant. Now, he was drafted initially by Sacramento in 1994, Back in 1997, he signed with the Portland Trailblazers, and he had a major impact on that team in those years that he was with the Blazers. That dude was a hustler. He had the nickname as the Rasta Monster, and he was just dynamic. That dude played, well, he played like Jerome Kersey. He was just a hustler. He went after the ball, and I just really loved his energy, and especially with that team that could have made it to the NBA Finals in the late 90s. That dude was a beast. And I was very bummed that he decided to sign with the Miami Heat in free agency. I really wish he would have stayed simply because I preferred him over Rasheed Wallace. Did he make the list of the all time greats? Wait and see. And my favorite Blazer at center is Bill Walton. And he was the overall number one draft pick in 1974 out of the historic program, UCLA. Unfortunately, he was hampered early on by foot injuries, but he still had an impact with the organization, and he led them to the 1977 NBA championship, their first and only championship in franchise history. In fact, he was named the finals MVP. What he accomplished when he was with Portland was just incredible, and I just really loved watching him play. And so, because of that, he is my favorite center of the Blazers. Did he make the list of the all time greats? Wait and see. So, those are my favorite players at each position. And granted, there are other Blazers out there that are my favorite players as well, but I just don't have time to list them. But who are your favorite players? Now, as I get into the all time great players, I want to share with you some honorable mentions. At point guard, my honorable mention is Terry Porter. Now, Terry Porter is the franchise leader all time in assists. And that guy really knew how to make other teammates better. He helped them to the NBA Finals in 1990 and 1992. And he was an All Star in 1991. Terry Porter played 10 seasons with the Blazers and was all time top 10 in points, assists, steals, and 3-pointers made. Now, my other honorable mention player at point guard is also an honorable mention at shooting guard as well, and that is none other than CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum was an excellent shot maker. He knew how to create his own shot, and he really knew how to make defenders look silly. CJ McCollum played 9 seasons for the Blazers, and he was the top 10 in points, assists, and he is second behind Damian Lillard in 3-pointers made in franchise history. And for that reason, that is why I'm giving CJ McCollum honorable mentions not only at point guard, but at shooting guard as well. Now, my other honorable mention at shooting guard is Brandon Roy. Brandon Roy only played 5 seasons, and he had to leave because he was dealing with knee injury problems. But that guy really knew how to create his own shots. In fact, he was just his shot making abilities was just unbelievable. Not only could he shoot the three, but he really knew how to take the ball to the rim and finish very strong. And he was able to will his team to victory after victory, even in the playoffs. He really was destined to be one of the all time greats, not only in Blazer history, but an NBA superstar. Even Kobe Bryant considered him to be a massive force in the NBA. What could have been with Brandon Roy? At small forward, my honorable mention is Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen played for the Blazers in the late 90s, early 2000s, and despite being late in his career, he still played at an all-time high level. And he was top 20 in franchise history in assists. He even helped them get to the Western Conference Finals in 2000, but they were one game away from making it to the NBA Finals. But Scottie Pippen deserves honorable mention in small forward. My honorable mention at power forward is LaMarcus Aldridge. Now, there's a lot of people that feel that LaMarcus Aldridge is the best power forward of all time, but I really believe there's one other power forward that's better than LaMarcus Aldridge. But that's taking nothing away from what LaMarcus Aldridge was able to do with his time in Portland. He played 9 seasons with the Blazers, and he is top 10 in scoring. He's the all-time leading rebounder in franchise history, and top 10 in blocks, and top 20 in scoring. Now, my other honorable mention at power forward is Rasheed Wallace. Now, Rasheed Wallace played 8 seasons with the Blazers, and he was top 10 in rebounds and shots blocked. Now, he was an excellent finisher at the rim. Yes, he really knew how to throw the ball down with authority. He was a great athlete, but unfortunately, he always was getting into constant arguments with the officials. And because of that, it just really turned me off with his constant yelling at the officials. Had he not been on confrontational with the refs, who knows? I really would have loved his style of play, but it was because of his barking at the officials constantly that just turned me off. But that guy was a great player. At center, my honorable mention is Arvydas Sabonis. That guy was a skilled passer for a big man. Just look at that. That is just phenomenal. Just check out these passes that he was doing. For a big man, that was quite impressive. And it was just unbelievable for his court vision. Arvydas played 7 seasons with the Blazers, and he was top 10 in rebounds and blocks, and he was also top 20 in scoring. And not only could he play in the post, but he also knew how to shoot the three. And he was just unbelievable for a big man of that caliber coming in at the age of 31 and having that kind of an impact on the franchise back then. That guy was just phenomenal. As a matter of fact, I really believe that had he decided to join the Blazers in the early 90s with Drexler and Porter and Kersey, they definitely would have had at least 2 championships. And because of that, I am giving Arvydas Sabonis as honorable mention as one of the best centers in the Blazer history. My other honorable mention at center is Kevin Duckworth. Now, Kevin Duckworth played 7 seasons with the Blazers. He had this unique shot called the duck hook, and he was top 20 in points scored as well as rebounds. And he was a gentle giant. Many considered him to be a very nice guy off the court. Sadly, Kevin Duckworth passed away in 2008, but he really had a good impact on the Blazers in the early 90s. In fact, he was an all-star. And so because of that, he really deserves the honors of being in the honorable mention among big men. That guy was just great. We miss you, Kevin Duckworth. So now we're at the fun part. I've shared with you my favorite Blazers at each position. I've shared with you who I feel is that honorable mention at each position. Now, who is the greatest Blazers of all time at each position? Let's enjoy.
Hey, these guys are professionals. They're the best.
The best point guard in franchise history is none other than Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard was drafted in 2012, number 6, and immediately his presence was felt in his rookie season. He knew how to take the game over and hit winning shots. And because of that, he was named Rookie of the Year. And he didn't stop there. He continued to hit game-winning shot after game-winning shot. He even hit game-winning shots again in the playoffs that would not only beat their opponents, but win the series. In fact, when the game was on the line, he wanted the ball to win the game because it was Lillard time. He played for 11 seasons with the Blazers. He became the all-time leading scorer in franchise history. He even had a franchise record of 71 points in a game. He became the all-time leader in three-pointers made. In fact, his three-pointers were so deep he was shooting them from nearly half court. And it was because of that he got the name Logo Lillard. And at the 75th anniversary of the NBA, Damian Lillard was named to the top 75 players of all time. But last offseason, he was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks, and he is having an impact on the Milwaukee Bucks this season. But when he was with Portland, he has become the all-time leading scorer in franchise history. He was the number one in three-pointers made. He is top 10 in assists, in steals, regular seasons played, playoff games. So his impact with Portland was a wonderful impact. He really knew how to take a game over and make others better. He did lead the Blazers to the Western Conference Finals back in 2019, but unfortunately, he was unable to get them to the NBA Finals. But nonetheless, Damian Lillard is the best point guard in Trailblazers history. At shooting guard, the greatest Blazer is Clyde Drexler. That guy was smooth. Not only was he a good finisher, but he could shoot outside shots as well. He had an awesome finger roll, and his style of jump shot was just unique. Clyde Drexler was part of the University of Houston's Phi Slamma Jamma. He was known as Clyde the Glide, and that guy could glide to the rim with authority. And he was just such a great player for the team, not only in the early days, but they were contenders for the NBA championship. And Clyde Drexler was the leader of that group. Yes, that guy really knew how to do everything. He could steal, he could assist, and he could take it coast to coast. And his jump shot style was just sort of unorthodox. But that guy did everything for the franchise. Even he hit game-winning shots. He helped the Blazers to the NBA Finals against Detroit and against Chicago. Sadly, they could not win either series.
Stupid refs.
But the fact that he took them to the NBA Finals 2 out of 3 years was one of the best Blazer runs in franchise history. In fact, he was part of the original Dream Team that helped win Olympic gold. Yes, Clyde Drexler was part of that group that won Olympic gold. Clyde Drexler played with the Blazers for 12 seasons. He was top 10 in points, which was second all-time behind Damian Lillard, top 10 in rebounds, top 10 in assists, top 10 in steals, top 10 in blocks, top 10 in three-pointers made and regular seasons played. And his number 22 jersey is retired and hanging in the rafters. In fact, many people consider him as the best all-around player in franchise history. And I can see why. Because that guy did it all. Yes, Clyde could glide. At small forward is Jerome Kersey. Now, I have already talked about him in my favorites, but I wanted to share some of his all-time rankings as a Blazer. Jerome Kersey is top 10 in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocked shots. He played for 11 seasons with the Blazers, and he was the team ambassador after he retired from the NBA. Sadly, Jerome Kersey passed away in 2015 at the age of 52, and that was just such a sad day. His passing was just heartbreaking, and a lot of the fans were just devastated by that, myself included, because it was very sad. Now, I said earlier that I had met Jerome at a Blazer game before, and it was just, I really wish I could have had his autograph, but I did not have a pen on me, nor did I have my camera to take a picture with him because he was willing to take a picture with me. But like I said, when I met him, we did not have cell phones with cameras on it. And so I did have my camera with me, but it was in my seat because I was roaming the corridors during halftime. And that's when I met him. And it just would have been so great to get his picture and his autograph. But Jerome Kersey, you are greatly missed as a Trailblazers fan and a great person. Yes, Jerome Kersey is the best small forward in franchise history. Enough said. The best Blazer power forward is Maurice Lucas, and he was key in leading Portland to the 1977 NBA championship. And their opponent was the heavily favored Philadelphia 76ers. Philadelphia ended up winning game one. There was a key moment that happened in game two. There was a rebound between Daryl Dawkins and Bob Gross, and they got into each other's faces. Daryl Dawkins decides to cheap shot Bob Gross, but Maurice Lucas comes in and returns the favor. This leads to a wannabe boxing match, and in those days, people really did this. Benches would clear, and even the crowd would storm the court to get involved. Yes, that really happened back in the 70s in the NBA. Even though Philadelphia won this game going away, this actually turned the series around for Portland. And Maurice Lucas was leading the charge with them winning the next 4 games to win the NBA championship. He was even known as the enforcer, and it was because of him coming to the aid of his fellow teammate in game two, he was able to help Portland win the NBA championship in 1977. Maurice Lucas' number 20 jersey was retired, but sadly he passed away in 2010. Very, very sad. And even though Maurice Lucas only played for 5 seasons with the Blazers, he is still in the top 20 all time in rebounds. Maurice Lucas, you are missed. And so, because of that, with his short span in Portland, with what he accomplished, even though he doesn't have the stats, he is still, in my opinion, the greatest power forward in franchise history. And of course, the greatest center in Portland Trailblazer history is none other than Bill Walton. Yes, I've already talked about what he had accomplished in his short span, but I want to elaborate a little bit more as to why he's the best center the Blazers have ever had. Bill Walton could do it all. He could rebound, He knew how to post up and hit turnaround jumpers. He could block shots. And he knew how to find the open guy. Just look at that give and go. He, at the time, was considered one of the best passing big men out there. And he made other players better. A lot of people even said that he was even better than Kareem. And he knew how to throw it down. And he was named the Finals MVP. Now, the following season, Portland really was started out red hot. They won 50 of their 60 games, and it was because of the impact of what Bill Walton was able to do. Unfortunately, he suffered a serious foot injury that hurt him for the rest of the season. It was just an awkward landing, but because of that, Portland wasn't able to finish the season strong. And it really impacted his NBA career as well. In fact, a lot of people were considering this as one of the biggest what ifs in franchise history. What if Bill Walton was healthy enough to play an entire career in Portland? One of those big what ifs. How many championships could Portland have won had he been healthy? And it was a major impact on the franchise. But what Bill Walton did for the Trailblazers was just phenomenal. And it's because of that is why he is the best center ever for the Blazers. Yes, go Big Red. So there you have it. Those are who I believe are the greatest Blazer players at each position. Now, a lot of you guys can make the arguments for some of the guys that I mentioned in the honorable mention category. That's fine. But again, the reason why I believe these guys are the best at their position is because of the impact that they had on the franchise during their time of play. Now, you can make the argument that LaMarcus Aldridge or Rasheed Wallace is better at power forward than Maurice Lucas. I get that. But let me tell you this. The reason why I called Maurice Lucas the best power forward at that position was because of the impact that he had when he was playing with the Blazers. He was one of the key catalysts of them winning their 1977 NBA championship, along with Bill Walton. You can also make a debate about Jerome Kersey, but it was because of his longevity and his impact on the team at the time of his playing days in Portland. Now, the other players at the positions, when you talk about Damian Lillard, Clyde Drexler, Bill Walton, in my opinion, those are no brainers. They are just the best at their positions. Now, some of the other players like Kevin Duckworth or Arvydas Sabonis may have had better stats. They may have helped the Blazers with their title contention playing days. But I really believe that because of Bill Walton, his impact on the franchise, good and bad, had a lasting effect throughout the history of the franchise. When he was with the Blazers and he helped them win the championship, when he was out with an injury, that really changed the trajectory of the franchise because they could have been a great contending team in the late 70s and even into the early 80s. Now, as far as the who is the best Blazer of all time, the top three are definitely Damian Lillard, Clyde Drexler, and Bill Walton. And a lot of people have different arguments as to who these guys are. I'm giving you my thoughts right now. As great as Damian Lillard is and becoming the all-time franchise leading scorer in points and 3 points made, I don't see him as impactful as someone like Clyde Drexler or Bill Walton. So he's number three. When you talk about Clyde Drexler and his longevity and when he was with the Blazers and becoming the all-time leading franchise scorer in history at that moment until Damian Lillard broke it, he went to the finals twice, but they just weren't able to get over the hump For that, I really believe Clyde Drexler, and this is kind of, you can go back and forth on this. Clyde Drexler, to me, is the second greatest, and which leaves Bill Walton. Like I said earlier, it's because of his impact on the team when he was drafted. He really was the guy that they worked around. He had Maurice Lucas helping him, and then he had other key role players in the lineup. But that guy knew how to score, he knew how to rebound, he knew how to block shots. A lot of people saying that when healthy, he was even better than Kareem Abdul Jabbar, and I actually believe that. And so, because of his impact and the fact that he actually won the title with the Blazers back in 1977, and because of his foot injury that had a lasting impact on the organization in the following years, that's why he is the greatest Blazer of all time. Is even though his career was very, very short, it was highly, highly impactful. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Damian Lillard or Clyde Drexler. Damian Lillard did get the team to the Western Conference Finals back in 2019, but lost to Golden State. And Clyde Drexler did take the team to the finals 2 out of 3 years, but he was dealing against a couple of teams that were just better. He was playing against the Detroit team that was known as the Bad Boys. Now, I really feel that some of those games that they played, the refs really were not giving Portland favorable calls, but the fact is that they lost to Detroit, who won back-to-back titles. And then when they played the Chicago Bulls and with Michael Jordan is just, with his impact. Like I said earlier, as far as honorable mentions with Arvydas Sabonis, is if he was with Clyde Drexler and Terry Porter, Jerome Kersey, I definitely believe they would have won at least 2 titles with that lineup. And not to take any credit away from Kevin Duckworth, but with the impact of Arvydas Sabonis, I really believe they could have beaten even Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls in the finals. So Clyde Drexler definitely had help, and he did have some good players around him, but he just could not get over the hump. And so because of that, he's the second greatest. And so, like I said, Bill Walton, to me, is the greatest Blazer of all time. So let's have a good discussion about this. Who do you think is the greatest Blazer in franchise history? Please let me know down in the comments. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please, I encourage you to give this video a thumbs up, to subscribe to my channel, and to turn on the notification bells for future videos. Wherever you may be, this is Blazer Hawk Darren reminding you that no matter how high you may soar, always stay grounded.